Welcome to the first part in a two-part series. This car is getting a lot of attention coming up here. I've wanted to do this project for a very long time, so what we're gonna do is swap out a 6-speed from the Special Edition NB as well as a 3.6 differential out of a NB that was only available in the UK, Australia, and Japan. So I was able to source that from Australia, got a speedo for it as well. So we're gonna do all of that today. We're just gonna be focusing on the differential, and I'll kind of get into that, show you what's going on. Got this giant array of parts here, a lot of which is going to be used for the transmission swap. While we're in there, we're gonna be doing new clutch, flywheel, pressure plate, new master cylinder, slave cylinder, braided steel, clutch line, and then the 6-speed shifter is different. So I've got a short throw shifter that's an angle, which will be very cool. And then this is the bell housing plate that's going to go between the transmission and the actual engine itself. This is the 3.6 differential. So we're going to go ahead and get some of this stuff unboxed and show you what's going on. Previously, I had picked up this 3.9 limited slip differential. I got a really good deal on it because the hanger was cracked, but thankfully these things are like building blocks, so the hanger on mine would have actually worked on this. But upon reading and about the 6-speed swap, found out that this would be not ideal and that I'd be shifting a ton with that bad boy. I got this one from Mr. Miata Parts on eBay. It was packaged really well. 363 Torsen, so it is a limited slip, which would be good, better off the line speeds, etc. But very excited for this. I did buy new bushings as well. These look fine, but I've got upgraded ones from Moss, so I'm gonna go ahead and install those as well. Have to get these out, which would be kind of a pain in the butt. So it's hooked up to the PPF there, the power plant frame, as well as obviously the axles on the side. Probably have to remove the exhaust and then maybe even the cross members as well. So it's going to be a pretty big undertaking here. I'm going to try to get these axles out without taking the wheels off, but we'll see how well that goes. I'm not certain. First things first though, got to drain it of any fluid, get that out of there. In most circumstances, you want to crack the fill plug first in case you're not able to get the fill plug off after. You'd still have fluid in there. Looks like mine was a little overfilled because it's leaking out a bit. It could just be the angle of the car as well though. And then once that is cracked, then you can do the drain plug just in case. In this instance, it doesn't really matter because, like I said, I want to get all the fluid out of here regardless. But it is a 24 on both. I think generally they're supposed to be 2 different sizes, but they have the same thread pitch, just so you know which one's the drain, which one's the plug. But I had done this job previously in the past and stripped out one of the bolts, and I didn't know that, so I just ordered 2 of the drain plugs. So they're both 24s for me, but again, double check that before you go on. These are the new seals for the axles and then the new mounts for the differential. These are supposed to be Mazda Speed competition diff mounts, so they were not cheap from Moss. They were, I think, 115 each. They don't sell them in a set, which is freaking ridiculous. These we'll just swap out right there. Make sure that is on the inside, and should be pretty simple, just pull and pluck. Try a couple different options, methods here, see what works best. Oh, well, got the spring out. Not exactly what I wanted, but it's a start. All right, so that one's out. To confirm my earlier suspicions, this is a 23, doesn't fit on that one. 24 fits, is way too big for that one. So 23, 24 for anyone doing just the the differential fluid. So just wanted to confirm there was, like, flush and good sealage all the way around. So that's why I was using the dead blow and then just this wooden part of this to ensure that we get some flush fitting on there. So pretty happy with both of those. Now for the challenging part, which is going to be removing these. I've heard presses work the best, but I've seen some people use reciprocating saws. All right, so I got at least the internals out. So it should be a little easier to just bend one piece and then hopefully pop the entire thing out. This was miserable, but I ended up getting it out. And predominantly just use this little punch and the hammer. Oh, and some good WD. This is the one we took out, and this is the one we're putting in. They're damn near identical. I really didn't want to change much in the way of how the ride went and felt, because anything harder than this, I was just worried about NVH. So I've got the Dremel out with 120 flap, and I'm just gonna go ahead and clean that up a bit before we put the new bushings back in. Very nice, very clean. Both sides good to go. Got my petroleum jelly here. So we're gonna lube up this thing, lube up the interior of the hanger, and try and press them in. So I got a little frustrated trying to put in those bushings myself. So I bought this shop press, and we're gonna try and do it this way. I've got the bushings in the freezer right now, trying to condense them, and then we're gonna just see about this way. I'll let you know. Okay, well, that's about as far as she wants to go in. Even with, like, I can't physically move this down anymore. I mean, it's supporting it. Like, it's got plenty of weight on it, but it's, I ended up just beating the bejesus out of it, and it's flush now. Looks the same as the one over there, so I'm pretty happy with it. Still gonna use the press to get it started on the other side though, because what a pain. Kind of hard to see on that last time lapse, but when I moved it up and tried to really cinch it down, it slipped out, and one piece came shot and hit me in the groin, which is why you see me kind of bend over, double over, and then one of them shot and hit me in the shin. So super fun. Wear PPE while working on shop presses, kids. Don't make the same mistake I did. But regardless, I got it in. I just ended up, again, smacking it with the dead blow. So now this differential is good to go into the car. Now we got to work on getting the old one out. Brian was nice enough to lend me his transmission jack. So I'm just kind of looking to see what all needs to come out for me to do this job. And honestly, the big one are going to be the axles. So I think we're gonna have to at least get the tires off and get the upper control arm disconnected, just so maybe we can pop those out. So I'm taking and removing this little box frame support bar. It's just 6 18 mils. Mine were pretty rusted on there, so I'm using an impact. Got it off the car as well as all the bolts. And I took a little bit of time just to clean it up. It's not perfect by any means, but it's better than it was, so. All right, and then for my sake, I'm just throwing these bolts back in so I can remember where everything went. And I don't, because I'm gonna have to take a lot of things off, and I don't trust myself. So for my ease of remembrance, I'm gonna just chuck the bolts back up in there. Like I said, there's 6 18s, so it should be pretty easy. The cross beam down, and then again left the bolts in because I'm gonna take down the exhaust next. So it's gonna be these two from there, and then just removing it off the hanger straight out through the back. So should be pretty easy. I'm it is just those 2 bolts. These bolts are 17s, so it should be pretty easy. Like I said, then we just got to remove the O2 sensor, and good time to replace those if you need to. Right, so exhaust from the cat back is down. Biggest pain in the butt was honestly the hangers. They're just kind of annoying, but regardless, when taking it down, highly recommend having something brace it rather than your body. So I'm removing the drive shaft now, but it's 14 mil on both sides, so use an impact on one and just hold it with a box wrench on the other. We get this one down, pull it out. Drive shaft is out of the car. It was, like I said, just those 4 bolts, and then because it's just the shaft, you pull it straight out. Testing something out. Gonna soak the drive shaft bolts in some white vinegar here. Let them sit, because this project's gonna take a while. So see if that cleans it up, because otherwise I've just been wire brushing, and that's kind of a pain in the butt. Just checking to see if there's any real play in these things, and honestly, it doesn't feel like it. Okay. Hard to keep it still while I'm doing this though. Yeah, no, it's just shaking the whole thing. With these, we want to just take and punch that divot out, and then we can remove it and pop the axles out from the hub here and then from the differential. These are a one-time use, so you do need more of these if you decide to go this route. Got the 27 out, and then used a dead blow hammer, just kind of pop it out from the hub there. Now we're gonna try and pry it off of the differential itself. I opted not to get these out because they were really being a pain, so I've just separated them from the hub. Now we're gonna work on the PPF, the power plant frame. So it's gonna be those 2 bolts right there. I've put the trans jack in place. It really is not gonna be supporting anything because there's still several bolts holding that up, but just want to get that one started. Kind of difficult to see, but the bolts we're going for now are going to be these 2. So I've just got a really long extension on the impact, and it is a 12. Pretty straightforward. Do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll go for the big one. I am beat, but differential's out. Let me show you. I was not able to remove the axles before pulling it out. I'm sure it would have made it a hell of a lot easier, but I'll pop them out now, and yeah, they're fully out. So now's probably the best time to clean if you're ever gonna do it. So I may take my steam cleaner and try and get up in there, but for today I am done, happy with this. I've got the bolts soaking, things, you know, waiting to be clean, and then tomorrow I'll put the new one back up. I've left this overnight. Vinegar looks a lot different, so still bubbling and getting stuff out, but it should be a lot better than before. I'm gonna rinse these off. Got the steam cleaner out. I was just looking up underneath, and there's a lot of buildup like that and that. So I'm gonna just see what I can do as far as cleaning this up a little bit. Obviously it's seen some better days, but don't think I'll get the opportunity to do something like this again. So I'm gonna take a little bit extra time here and just try and clean it up. And then the bolts that I put in the vinegar actually cleaned up fairly nicely. So digging that, and then I've got all the diff bolts as well that went in there. So pretty happy with how that turned out. I just rinsed it with hot water and then used a plastic bristle brush to kind of clean up all of the excess. The ones that I'm focusing on look kind of like that. And then once I'm done, they more so look like that. So it's definitely a worthwhile process, because I would like to get pretty much all of that nastiness at least loosened up, so then the next time I go to a car wash or get the undercarriage sprayed, most of that should just wash right out. But it is a long process for sure. got the new diff with all of the new mounts and seals and all that on the jack. I'm going to try and lift it up slowly, connect it to the PPF, at least slot it in there because that piece needs to go between the top of the PPF and the top of that piece right there. So going to be kind of a two-person job. Try and get someone to jack it up, and then I'll be under there coordinating it into place. These axles were an absolute pain in the butt. I ended up getting my dad to pry on one side with the pry bar, I pried on the other with the screwdriver, and they just ended up popping out. But holy cow. Important thing to note, and do as I say, not as I do. Like I mentioned, that little shim piece needs to go in, but if you notice, it's got ridges on it, which I don't know if you can actually see or not, but there's ridges, and right now the ridges are facing the bottom, but they need to match up with those ridges there so this nut doesn't move around. So I went ahead and torqued everything down already, and now I've got to somehow flip how this plate is facing, so I'm really excited for this. The big one for this is 72 foot-pounds is the max, so I did those to 70. And then these guys here are about, what did I say? Let me just check the torque reading here. Looks like about 80, 85 foot-pounds on that one. I was able to flip it fairly easily, so thank God for that. So now I just gotta put the axles on, then reconnect the upper control arm. I can put the tires back on. I'm not gonna be doing the drive shaft today, just because, like I said, this is gonna be a two-part series. So the next time we're gonna be tackling the transmission, getting the old 5-speed down, and swapping out that beautiful 6-speed right there. The axle is back in. So what I ended up doing is this side is a 21, this side is a 17, where is it? Right there. And then these are 14s, so I just ended up disconnecting all of them so I could shove the axle back in directly flush. Which was tricky, but I ended up just getting it, and then now this one's ready for the the sort of crush nut there that goes on it. But like I said, they are one-time use, so I will be getting new ones. Other than that, this project's just about wrapped up. I'm gonna leave the exhaust and all the other things that we took down off until I finish the transmission. There she is, all bolted in, axles in. Oh, happy to be done with at least this portion of the job. This was a much larger undertaking than I thought it was going to be, just because of all the things that I had to remove. But I'm glad I got the opportunity to clean, and honestly, once you've done it once, I feel like it would be a lot easier in the future. I'd know exactly what it was going into it. So, feel good about it. We still have a huge box of parts left for the transmission. That guy right behind me. So very much looking forward to that. I still have 2 additional diffs. I'm gonna try and recoup some of the money for the 3.6, but we'll see how it goes, and I'll see you in the next one. Appreciate you watching as always. Take it easy.